Hello everybody and welcome to the Adventures of Drawing. I'll draw a little scene for you today using a variety of pencils, a smudging tool and an eraser. So without further ado, let's go right into this. So I'll have a horizon line maybe here, and then I'll go into the sky. Let me try and make this as quickly as possible. I have found that if I draw more quickly, things happen that I like. Not always, of course. It pays off to take your time, but especially when I make drafts before I draw and I don't care too much about the draft, I tend to be more loose, and that gives the draft a quality that I very much like, that the real drawing that I then work on doesn't have. And I will try to recreate that looseness, or try to do so at least. Okay, let's go across this very quickly here. Let's have some fun and not actually pay too much attention to the fact that we are drawing, but that we are active, that we are creating something, and that requires physical activity, which is moving your hand back and forth on this piece of paper, and in this case, as quickly as you can. Okay, no cloud today. There's going to be stuff from the ground emerging into the sky, and trying to conserve this energy, I will go in here really rapidly, creating some sort of ground right here. Go across the horizon all the way to have stuff in there. All sorts of things going on back there. Mostly the background right now, since we're going to get into the foreground, midground and foreground later. Okay, next I want to have some trees in the background emerging right here, and they're not supposed to be very high in relation to my frame and my drawing, since they're rather far in the distance. And then we've got some branches branching off of those trees. Wow, I'm somehow feeling myself becoming calmer, because right now while I'm still trying to draw rather quickly, I'm not making movements as erratic as before, and somehow I myself am becoming more calm. I notice this especially in the way that I speak. Of course, I try to speak very calmly in this project of streaming my adventures while I draw, since, as you may have noticed, of course, it is rather very much inspired by Bob Ross, but in this case, the calmness in my voice came involuntarily. Something interesting to notice, or at least it was an interesting little experience for me just now. Okay, not the prettiest of trees, not paying very much attention. Occasionally, I'm trying to make some branches overlap. But I mean, by virtue of those trees standing close to each other, a lot of those branches overlap anyway. But I mean, I want some branches to overlap within the same tree. Maybe right here, like that. Right here. Next one over here. Okay. Now those trees just look like bushes, I think, which makes them look like they're rather close. So I give them some thicker trunks to indicate that those are in fact trees and not just bushes that have like twigs as trunks coming from the ground. And I think that does a decent job in pushing them a little bit into the distance. Not too far, still just maybe 100 meters in front of us, but I don't want them to be standing on the horizon anyway. This is a good distance. Okay, let's get some dynamics in the branches. Make some of those a little thicker. Those are some ugly lines right here. But well, not everything we create can be beautiful. And I think we have to create many ugly things in order to create just a few beautiful things. And the beautiful things may be the ones we display at some point. Or some people, professional artists, may sell those. But most certainly they paint and draw a lot more works than they decide to put into their store for customers to be able to buy them. A lot of what they do certainly just ends up on a pile of things that are never going to be sold. Okay, maybe that's our little line of tree relatively far into the distance, not too far as I said. Then we're going to have the next one, and I'll take the 3B pencil for that. First of all, I'm going to extend the ground into the midground. I don't know, I'll just fill in the light areas between these lines that are made right here with the 3B pencil, because they're is an irregular pattern of bright areas. And if I fill those in, I don't have to take care of myself thinking about how this pattern would be irregular. So by just following this, I automatically get some irregular pattern down here in the ground. You can, of course, set that up and intentionally make wild lines in the beginning that you are going to use in some way later. But sometimes it's good to just spontaneously decide to use something that you created before to do something else, because then the setup is completely free from the product that it's going to be in the end, and it's going to be totally not influenced by it, and therefore more random than if you already had something in mind that you're going to use the setup for later. And maybe the midground goes this far into the distance, and everything after that is the background, so I'm not going to go all the way up to the horizon with this. Just what I did right here. And then maybe I'll go a little bit more in here. Just complete this right area so that the midground extends down to about this area right here. And then the foreground is going to be that area right there. So it's not completely flat. It's not just a straight line where the background goes into the midground and then a straight line where the midground goes into the background. It's sort of a very light curve right here. Gives our landscape some character. Okay, yeah. Last touch for the ground in the midground right here. Rest is going to be reserved for the foreground. Okay. I want some more trees in there. And I want them to overlap with those in the distance. But I want there to be a gap in the middle. So I'm going to start right about here. Make them a little larger than the one in the background. Have some stand really close together. Let's actually do that in the background as well. Maybe have one stand right here. Just add this in right now. Have some more branches in here. Makes that look a little more natural. Okay, one more right here and another one. Maybe a little bit more in front. So it starts a little bit more down here. Down there. Okay, and then on the other side, I'm going to have the first one start right here. Another one pretty close to it. One right there and another one maybe a little bit more in the distance right here. Okay, now we'll do the same thing. Add branches and make the trunks a little wider. Let me maybe follow the same pattern that I did for the trees in the background by adding the branches first. Some primary branches, secondary branches. And tertiary branches. Okay, then make the primary branches a little wider. Maybe like so. Okay, next one. All right, a little wider for the trunk, and then some thicker branches in there as well. All right, almost done with this one. Last one for the left side. Maybe this one branches out really far. Maybe like this. Now let me make the primary branches a little bigger as already, since later I'm not going to be able to identify them. I was just shooting into the blue for all those trees that I did just draw before. Okay, looks really strange, so I'll make the trunk wider now. And then just add the rest of the branches. Okay, going over to the left side, to the right side now. Just continue doing the same thing. Maybe I should have just a couple less primary branches. I think that looks more I don't know what, somehow better, I think. Uh, there's no overlapping of the branches right here, I know. Maybe every here branch goes out like this. Now it overlaps with the trunk. Okay, next one right here. Maybe it's got some crooked branches like this. Just a different type of tree with a different shape of branches. It's not all the same out here. We've got variety. Okay, over to the next one. I can barely see the branches that I draw right here. They're already intermingled with the other ones. But I can still somehow make them out, and I think those are all of the primary branches that I had for this one. Now let's get the trunk like this, and then we just have to get in a couple more small branches. A little bit more wiggly as well. I tend to make the branches rather straight when I try to draw quickly, since of course straight lines are faster to draw than bending them and curving the lines. Okay, maybe like this. Something in here like that. Okay, another, and the last one right here. Just like so. Thicker branches, thicker trunk, and then all the rest of the branches. Okay, maybe like so. That's our second row of trees. Yeah. Let's now go in with the HB pencil again and draw a tree right here. This one's rather up close now, so the trunk is going to be a little wider, maybe like this. Right there. And it's going to have branches coming off right here. I want them to be above this height of the tree line in the background to make the gap more clear. Okay, maybe they go really far out since they are really close. Okay, this one trails back like this. Then we've got one going into the background, down like so, and coming up like that. One coming down from below and going up again. Another one maybe like that. One like here, another one coming down here. I think that's it. Okay, so let me erase the background behind the tree trunk. Alright. Now, using the 3B pencil, I will make a shadow side of the tree, and I want it to be rather irregular. and not too smooth. Okay. Going in with the pattern now. Or maybe I should at first give the entire shadow side a value so that there's no area that is too bright that sticks out. There are no bright values on the shadow side. Okay, now I can start and go in with the pattern of the bark. I don't know if I'm doing anything differently from when I normally draw. I feel like I draw at the same pace right now. So maybe the project is not too successful. But at least I had a thought going into this that made me think that I'm providing something different today, which made me able to start the stream. Otherwise, I would have, as most of the days, thought I always do the same and it's boring for you. But yeah, I don't know, maybe it is different. Maybe I'm just not conscious about it. Okay. Get this branch right here. Make the primary branches a little wider towards the trunk and also make the end of them a little darker with the 3B pencil just to make them stick out a little more. Okay, thicker right here. Maybe up to this point. And so is this one, and it comes from sort of the middle of the trunk, not from the side. That's a neat little detail that gives the tree a little bit more three-dimensionality. Okay, maybe this point it starts to get thicker, like so. And then we've got this one coming down from the top. Maybe like that. And then there's this branch right here. And maybe it starts to get thicker towards the trunk from this point. Right there. Okay. Like so. Alright. Now let's have some secondary branches coming off. All the way from this branch right here, maybe circling back there. And there's another one circling to the other side. This one goes over here. and one right there. Then we've got this branch right here. Maybe one is going right in front of the tree. This one goes up and then comes down here. This one goes over there, and another one going a little bit up and then down. Now we've got this branch right here. Maybe something like this, another one like so, one coming back around here, and two right there, and the one coming in from the top has got some branches here. Okay, let's have some more come down from the top. Maybe one is right behind the tree coming down here, and then it goes a long way behind the tree and pokes out here and then goes over here in there, just so we can have a couple more branches here over here on the right side of the trunk. Of course, we need one or two more here then as well, and then one more right here. Okay. Now, I'm not sure as to which pencil I should use. I think I'm going to switch to the HB pencil for the next level of branches, but I am going to pick one with a less sharp tip. Let me just open a sketch pad right here and dull down this tip a little bit. So that I can have consistent lines. Maybe. Hope that's going to be enough. Put that away, and then let's go. Yeah, I think that's a good quality for the lines. So we're having tertiary branches right here, branching off in all sorts of ways and shapes and forms, and we have more and more of those branches. We've got, I don't know, depending on the age and size and type of tree, of course, but we definitely always have just a couple of primary branches, then 5 or 6 times the amount of secondary branches, and from each type of branch, each order of branch, you might say, we have 6 times more of them than the next bigger order of branch. Okay, but I don't want to overdo it right here. Let's just give every branch a couple more of very fine branches going from the end. You can really lose yourself in that, drawing all those branches. You can go in a lot of detail and spend a lot of time on that. And I really like the complexities of the trees. And although this drawing might look bleak, and some people might say it depicts death, as there are no leaves on the trees and therefore there's no life, as people associate summer with life. I really like it when there are no leaves on the trees. I really like the shapes that occur in those trees that are visible. The shapes of the branches only really get visible when there are no leaves on them. And of course, I know that the trees just go into their version of hibernation. They just stop a couple of functions. They just stop the process of photosynthesis. It's not like they're dying. They're just preparing for winter. Okay. Maybe that's it for this tree. Alright, let's very quickly maybe have something for those trees right here to stand on. Like so. Something for this one. And then go into the foreground right here. And also incorporate this area, just as I said before. Let's just have some lines in here. Okay, let's switch to the 7B pencil and just go with the same theme that I went with before, filling in those gaps, not paying attention to giving this any recognizable pattern. No grass right here, just some stuff in the ground that represents whatever's growing there in a more abstract way. Just layers of things in here. Okay. And there we've got our scene for today. Let me clean up the edges. Okay. Let me have a little reflection on what I wanted to accomplish. I don't think I carried the speed drawing method very far. I did pay less attention to the detail in those trees in the background and midground than I maybe would have otherwise. But besides that, I don't think I made anything particularly different. Well, wait. I did pay less attention to the detail on the ground right here and in the midground. So I did carry that process a little further, or maybe even into the end of the scene, just skipping it a little bit when I concerned myself with the tree in the middle. And I don't think trying to speed this up was a bad thing. Of course, the ground looks less recognizable, but it still looks like a ground that could be somewhere in nature. That's quite interesting to me. Another thing that I want to reflect upon is the fact that I had a tree in mind that stands in a grove or a glade. And since those couple of trees in the mid and background don't really resemble a forest, this can't really be considered a grove. But maybe I'll get closer to that in another scene that I draw. Okay. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking around with me. I hope you got something out of it. Some inspiration or motivation to be creative or get some work done. If you find yourself coming back to the channel, please consider subscribing. Drop a like on the video if you like what you see. And drop down in the comments to leave criticism or simply tell me what you think about what I'm doing here. It's greatly appreciated. So, with all that said, thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.